Hey guys, in this video we're going to take a Python file and turn it into a Windows executable. So first things first, you guys need to have a folder, a new folder. So right click wherever you want to save your file, wherever you want to do all this, and go to new folder. And you can name it whatever you want. Name it something that sort of is similar or describes your Python program. So inside of my folder, I've got a Python program and a .ico file. So the Python program can be any program that you already have. It can be very simple or it can be elaborate. I would keep it as a one file program. All right, so just use something that only has one file to it. If you need something, go ask AI to write you some kind of game. So I asked the Claude AI to write me an adventure game that had a frog and a bird in it. And it wrote me the adventure game. I saved it in a Python file and I put it in my folder. Now I also have this .ico file, and what this is a specific sort of image file. And like all of these little different programs over here on your desktop, everything that's a program has its own icon. So Adobe's is this red square with the A, right? We all know what the word icon looks like. So your executable file is going to have its own icon. And the easiest way to grab one of these is just go to the internet and type in free ICO. And I think the one I used was called, let me find it. I use this icon finder right here. Right, come up to the top, type in whatever you're looking for. I wanted a frog. I saw this one, it said free. I click it. Now, before you download it, you have to change it over. It's going to be a PNG to begin with. A PNG file will not work. It will throw an error when you go to run the command. It has to be a .ico file. So if you click on other, you can choose ICO and then download. All right, so once you download it, rename it to something more simple and throw it in that folder where your Python file is. So by the time you're done with all that, you should have your folder. Mine's called Frog Game. You should have a Python file inside of it, and you should have a .ico file. That's it. All right. So let's get started running these commands. First things first, I'm going to open the command line. I'm going to come down here and say CMD. That's going to give me a terminal. All right. So my folder that I'm working out of is on my desktop. And on my computer, I have to go to OneDrive and then I go to my desktop. All right, so we're gonna use some CD commands to get from where we currently are, which is my user folder, and I'm gonna get onto my desktop. So you can always type dir, and that will show you all the files and folders in the directory that you're currently in. So right now I'm in my user folder, it's called mallow, right? And you can see everything in here. So I've got a bunch of, this is where my basic stuff is, right? So you're going to see the documents, the downloads, my music, all that kind of stuff. Right now, I personally have to go into this OneDrive folder before I can go onto my desktop. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to CD to change directory into the OneDrive folder. And then I'm going to go from there to my desktop. All right. If it's difficult for you to do all this CD stuff and everything, just put your folder in your downloads. And then usually once you go ahead and start the terminal, you could just hit CD downloads and you'll be in there. All right, so now I'm on my desktop and that is where my folder is. My folder was called Frog Game, like this. All right, so I'm going to CD into that folder. All right, awesome, I'm in there. Now I'm going to type dir to see all the files and folders currently in there. All right, so I have my .py file and my .ico file, so I know I'm in the right place. Now we're going to run some commands. So the first thing you guys are going to need to do is pip install a library called Pyinstaller. Now, if you're on one of the FTCC computers, or maybe you don't have your Python path set, you may have to type Python before every one of the commands that I'm about to put in, all right? I don't have to do that because I've got my machine set up already, but you may keep in mind if it says something like, I don't know, pip is not seen as a valid command or something like that, put the word Python in front of it. So I'm going to say pip install Pyinstaller. All right, and it doesn't take long for me because I've actually already installed it. Yours may take just a little bit longer. So now we've got the library installed and we can start running some commands. The first command that we're going to run is just to say Pyinstaller space and then the name of your Python file, froggame.py. And I'm going to hit enter and it's going to do some things. If you happen to get an error message and it says it can't find your Python file, make sure you're in the right folder, that you're in the right place. All right, you may need to CD into or out of something to get into it. So whatever I just did was successful. So I ran the initial Pyinstaller command on my Python file. Now we're going to say Pyinstaller. Remember, you may need to type the word Python. And we are going to say, let me take a look at it, windowed. All right, so that's going to make it to where when we run this as an exe, it pops up in a new window. So let's say -w and the name of the file, froggame.py for me. All right, it's going to do some more things. Do not worry if you get a pop-up right about now, as I just did, saying there's a virus or it's found something malicious on your machine. It's a false positive. It is not anything bad. You're fine. All right, so that worked well. Now we're going to write a command that's going to take all these files that were just created and push them into one exe. So let me show you what I mean. If I look right now into that frog game folder, it created 2 folders and 1 file, right? So this does not look like an executable that you could just click and run. There's way too much stuff in here. So we're going to run a command that's going to kind of push all those files into one. We're going to say Pyinstaller -F, the name of your Python file, and run it. All right, we're almost done. All we have to do now is associate that icon with our exe file. So in other words, got to put my frog head on there as my icon. So let's take a look at the command. We are going to say Pyinstaller filename.py. We do not need this -F because we did that in this step before. And we do need the -I and the name of our ICO file. All right, so Pyinstaller, Python file name, -I, image file name. Pyinstaller, so that's the name of your Python file, -I, and now the name of your ICO file. I'm going to double check what mine is because I can't really remember. So mine is frog_icon.ico. All right, and I'm going to hit enter. So it is saying the output directory, that folder, frog game, and all its contents will be removed. I'm going to continue, yes, or Y. All right, it said it was completed successfully. Do not be shocked if you get an error message that says, hey, I can't do this because it's a virus. I can't turn it into an exe because the Python file has malicious whatever. All right, if that happens to you, I promise you there's nothing wrong. You're welcome to obviously look through the Python file, make sure there isn't anything in there. Most likely there's not. But you'll need to go into Windows Security and turn off your virus protection temporarily and then rerun the command. All right, so how I just got there was I just came down here and typed in Windows Security, click on Settings, go to the Virus and Threat Protection. This is going to pop up. If you want, you can manage the settings, and right here you can turn it off. Locates and stops malware from installing or running. You can turn this off for a short time and it's going to turn itself back on. So you really don't even have to worry too much about coming in here and setting it back. Just say yes. All right, it's telling you, oh, I'm unprotected right now, which is fine. This is going to keep popping up, so ignore that. And then you could run that command again if it failed the first time around. All right, and then it should work fine after that. All right, so whether you had to turn off the security or not, hopefully you now have ran all of these commands successfully, and let's see what we have now. Alrighty, so let's see what we got in there. We're going to open it up, and I'm going to go into this dist folder. So here is our actual executable. What used to be the Python program, now it's a Windows exe file. You can actually take this, and it doesn't look like our icon's on there, but it is. All right, and we can drag it onto the desktop, and now you can see my little frog icon, and I'm going to double click it and run it. All right, and it looks like it's working. All right, awesome. And Claude wrote this code for me, and I think it put a couple sleep commands in there. So that's why it takes it a minute after I type something in. Oh, it looks like I died in the game. All right, and it's over, so I can run it again if I want. And we'll say we'll go across the bridge this time. All right, and it's going to keep going. So hopefully you have your file as a .exe and you can drag it onto your desktop and run it. If you guys have any problems with this, screenshot whatever's going on and shoot me an email. All right, bye.